going through the process with a homeowner, sometimes it's that the homeowner will not understand why we have to do certain things a certain way, but we're binded by the electrical code.
Three Codes Electric is a powerhouse in the Ottawa and Gatineau region, led by brilliant electricians like Max Belanger. Three Codes' dedication to staying energetic, current, and efficient is more than just a motto. It's a promise that drives every project, ensuring that each home is not only powered, but empowered with the safest and most advanced electrical systems available.
Let's say you've got loose wire on an outlet, and then as soon as you put a load on it, it's going to create an arc. The breaker will sense that and trip right away.
With over 20 years in the industry, Max has established himself as a reliable licensed electrician and fan favorite on the Contractor Ryan Show.
So anytime you're putting in a new outlet,
right? It's add, remove, change, right?
Yeah, you technically need to pull a permit with the Electrical Safety Authority.
Among servicing clients and ensuring safety at every point, Max also shares his expertise by overseeing training for dozens of burgeoning electrical apprentices.
If any connections are not done properly, the inspector will tell you, but you're also compromising your electrical system as well.
Welcome to Blueprint Banter. Do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. Doing so allows me to bring in amazing guests and keep the content rolling. Plus, you get notified right away when we release a new video, which I'm sure you're going to want to know. So, without further ado, let's dig in.
Okay, let's talk electrical. Let's get energized.
We work together a lot.
We do.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
You look it.
I am excited. Thrilled. Yes.
Did you get any advice before you came on the show today?
Yes.
What did your wife say?
My wife said to just not think about it too much and just go with the flow.
Okay, so we're just gonna go with the flow. Shout out to your wife. Great
Yes.
advice.
Thank you, Charlene.
So, the reasons why I wanted to bring you on this show, kind of early because we're into our third episode, is because the electrical.
Wait.
You're not first.
I am not the first guest.
No. First we did design, then we did permits, and now we're doing electrical.
Got it. Okay. Fair.
And electrical is complex. I always joke when I'm like doing a TV thing that by the time I'm done speaking, the electrical code has already changed. So I always say, don't take my word for it, because, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to electrical. I'm not an electrician.
Exactly. Yeah.
But electrical is complex.
It is.
So let's dive in to the first question that I have for you. What is the most complex thing when it comes to electrical? Is it the code? Is it the install?
I would say it's just being up to date on the electrical code, because as an electrical contractor, we get bulletins every few months about the constant updates in the electrical code, and things are changing so fast that if you're not up to date on the latest, then you'll be in violation, basically.
Yeah. And these bulletins that come from the ESA.
Exactly.
Okay. And I want to talk about specifically heated floors, because a lot of clients want them.
Yes.
We install a lot of them.
Yep.
I can install the wiring for a heated floor as a heated floor like this is what I don't understand.
So as a general contractor, you can set in the heated cable into the into the membrane that's going to be underneath the tile. But before you do that, you'll need to pull a permit, an ESA permit with the Electrical Safety Authority.
Right.
So, and that falls on whoever's installing the heated floor. So if as a general contractor, you're putting in that floor, you're responsible to pull the permit.
Right, for the wire.
For that job.
Right.
Okay. And then what you also have to consider is that we have to bring feed to bring power to that heated floor.
Yeah.
So the wire that goes from the electrical panel up to the outlet that's going to be supplying power to the floor, we will do it as a licensed electrical contractor.
Why do you think that nuance is there? Well, because it makes zero sense for me to, I guess maybe I'm mortaring down the membrane, because you guys don't mortar down the membrane.
No.
And they figure, well, you're there, you might as well deal with the kit and that they came in the box. I don't. Why do you think they are allowing us to do that?
So when you're putting in that wire, if you follow the manufacturer's instructions, it's it's pretty simple, but you have to, if you don't put it in the right way, it can be quite dangerous.
Right.
A few years ago, there was a notice from the Electrical Safety Authority where an older gentleman slipped, fell on the floor. 120 volt system was wired to a 240 volt was wired with 240 volts, and the gentleman passed away on the floor and died.
That's crazy.
And the contractor that put it in was an electrical contractor, but he didn't pull an Electrical Safety Authority permit. So when that whole debacle happened, then that's when they started enforcing and pushing those inspections even more.
Mm-hmm.
And on another front, it's, as an electrical contractor, if we do if you do a lot of installations on electrical floors, then sometimes ESA will pass because we did a certain amount of jobs without having a defect.
Yeah.
Then they'll pass the inspection without a visit. But if a general contractor that is a general contractor is putting in the floor, then they want to have eyes on the installation to make sure that the probe that's supposed to be in the floor is installed, that no wires are crossed, that there's the protective conduit that's supposed to go down behind the wall, down to the floor, that everything's installed properly.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to really dig into heated floors because they're so common. And it's one of the only things that I can think of that my contracting firm can do electrical wise without pulling a permit. I know I can replace outlets, I can install lights, I can do anything like that I can do. That's not a problem. We can do that. But
it's very limited. Like a general contractor could potentially replace certain outlets, but it gets tricky because if you've got aluminum wiring, you can't touch that. You need special
the paste.
Yes,
the Morettes,
special connectors.
Yeah.
And then we can pigtail them, but it's got to be done a certain way. And when we do that type of work, you also have to pull a permit.
Right.
Yeah.
I always say, like, if a homeowner can do it by themselves, chances are your general contractor can do it. Like replacing an outlet in, like, say, okay, for instance, what we did in when I went and followed you around for a day, you put in a smart switch. We don't need a permit to put in a smart switch.
No.
Right. So if a client wanted me to do that, I could do that. I wouldn't. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't do it. But not because we can't do it. It's because we have other things to do and we'll have you do it. But when it comes to heated floors, I've always scratched my head around why ESA is allowing us to muck around with this stuff at all.
You know, you're right. Personally, I think it should only be electrical contractors that are able to install the heated floor, because a lot of things come into play. You got just the demand factor of the floor, and then we have to fuse it properly as well. So, and then where that thermostat in the floor is going to be installed. But if a general contractor is installing it and they pull a permit, they're for sure getting an ESA inspector
100%.
on site to take a look at how it was installed. Yeah. So, I mean, on that front, if it's getting inspected by the electrical inspector,
there used to be like years ago. I remember watching TV shows. I won't say the names, but they would do their own electrical and they would come in and inspect it after the fact, like the general contractor. Like I'm talking about 2000s.
Right.
You know, there would be an inspection. I think that was even pre-ESA. I don't know how long ESA has been around.
I think it's early 2000s.
Yeah, but okay, it's good because I want to ask you a question specifically around safety, and it's kind of funny because we had a conversation off camera about safety earlier today. Well, what do you think is the challenge when it comes to electrical? Like we hear horror stories of electricians getting killed.
Yeah.
Of homeowners being shocked, of all that stuff. What do you think is the biggest safety challenge in your line of work for a young electrician, let's say?
As a worker or
as a worker? Like you hired an apprentice, someone who just recently graduated. What would be, you guys are prepping, you're doing your first safety meeting. What is the thing that is most common for you guys that you see?
It's honestly just being on a work site, just having the proper footwear. Just
really,
just
so not electrical related.
Well, I mean, if you just having your PPE, right? So your hard hat when we're on site, glasses if you're in that type of environment, and then Well, for us, if you're working on live power, then a few more things come into play as well.
And how often, like, you guys aren't rated to work on live power at all, are you? Is there a reason why you wouldn't go downstairs to turn the breaker off in residential, or?
No, most of the time we'll turn the power off when we can, but in certain situations when we're trying to figure out a problem, we need
Current.
I'll need current on that circuit just to figure out what's not working.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when we're trying to, because a lot of the times when we're coming into a home, especially a renovation where let's say you're taking out a wall,
Right.
like you often do, and then you're like, oh, I don't want these plugs, or I don't want, delete this, delete that. Then we've got to figure out a way to rewire like that whole portion, and it's a bit of a puzzle. So we'll need power to know where it's going,
constantly
and
turning on and off the power to figure out
to
what's
diagnose.
Yeah. What about common misconceptions about permits and ESA? Like let's.
I'll give you an example today. Actually, this morning, so I went out to take a look at client's home, a potential client. They want to install an electrical vehicle outlet. So they've got a 32 amp charger that's just a plug-in, and they're saying,
like, from the car manufacturer.
They get the unit that it has an outlet, a plug-in like a stove, where they're just gonna plug it into the wall. So the only thing they need is a stove, a 1450 outlet to install on the wall. And they mentioned, okay, so if we go ahead, like, we don't need an electrical permit to for this job. I'm like, yes, you do. So anytime you're putting in a new outlet,
right? It's add, remove, change, right?
Yeah, you technically need to pull a permit with the Electrical Safety Authority, and as a contractor, we'll pull that permit, do the job, call for an inspection once the work is done. As a homeowner, if you're willing to do the work yourself, you can pull the permit, and then the inspector will come out, inspect your work.
Yeah,
I mean, if you don't, if you're having us come out there to quote the job in the first place, especially with an electric vehicle, it's probably because you don't quite know how to go about it.
Yeah, you don't want to risk breaking your vehicle.
Yeah, and then the other thing is those chargers, they have a huge draw. So if any connections are not done properly, or you're not sizing the wire correctly, the inspector will tell you, but you're also compromising your electrical system as well. So
we're talking about, like, I think this is a great conversation. I think people would appreciate talking about electric cars a little, because that's the future. Electric cars, right? We're all buying electric cars.
At least for the next 20 years.
Yeah. But there's a lot of houses. We're in Ottawa. Alta Vista is notorious. It's an area here in town that has 100 amp service. Can I put an electric car if I have a 100 amp service? And the 100 amp service is a service that comes from hydro.
Yep.
So how would you tackle that if you're going into someone's home and they only have a 100 amp service? Yeah.
So a big misconception is if you're getting an electric vehicle, you need a 200 amp electrical panel. It'd be great if we could just replace every 100 amp electrical panel to a 200 amp upgrade. It'd be great for business.
Right.
But it's not the case. It's case by case basis, especially a lot of factors come into play. If you have, depending on the size of your charger. So you can go from 30 amp to 40, 48,
the
50
car manufacturer, you mean?
There's manufacturers, there's charger manufacturers out there that have different sizes. So when you go to a level 2 charger, you can get 32, 40, 48, 50, 60,
right?
Whatever. So
the higher the number, the faster it charges.
Exactly. So, and depending on the vehicle you have, if you have a hybrid, you probably don't need a 48 amp charger, because 32 amp will give you that same, that benefit of a level 2 charger. And if you're charging overnight, you don't need to go from 4 hours to 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah. So the first step is knowing what type of charger you want to install, hardwired, or is it a plug-in?
But homeowners aren't going to think this through. This is a thought that you're going to have, or you're going to look at the car.
That's the first. So the first thing is we'll get a call and say, hey, I want to install a charger. Okay, how big? What's the size of your electrical service system? And we'll go out, and we'll provide them with a quote based on a hydro service layout. And then what we'll do is the homeowner will send us the data for the last year of usage. And then with that, we can do a load calculation and provide that to the Electrical Safety Authority once we call the inspection. And then we'll know.
So you have to figure out the load. For
Yeah.
This. Okay.
Just so we'll know the load before we proceed with the work.
Right.
That way, with that load calculation, that lets us know, okay, there's 60 amps left on. So the highest peak for that year is 30 amps. So we've got 70 amps left that we can play with.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
those
right.
are just like basic numbers.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're actually contacting the hydro company to figure out what the usage was over the year, to figure out if you can add something.
So we'll ask the homeowner to provide us with that data, and then we'll figure out the load.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just to be sure that we're not putting in a system where, oh no, the electrical panel, the 100 amp can't take it.
Yeah.
And then we'll know beforehand, before doing the work, oh, we may need to have a discussion about upgrading the electrical service.
Right.
Or there
Because
are...
it's not just the panel.
No.
Like, I'm not just putting in a new panel. There's more to it to go to 100 amp, to 200 amp, sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah, depending on which, like here we're in Ottawa, so Hydro Ottawa or Hydro One, the process to proceed for an upgrade is it's kind of similar.
Right.
But so we'll reach out to them on behalf of the homeowner,
Right.
and then they'll provide us with guidelines on what we need to do to upgrade the electrical.
Like, you don't, like, if I can use, I know a lot of it is underground.
Yep.
Right. But you're never replacing the underground wire.
No, that's on the hydro side.
That's on the hydro side. But sometimes if it's on the pole, could you be replacing the mass or the service to the...
We'll replace what's attached to the house. So let's say you have an overhead service, so it's attached to your house. It's either going through the roof,
right,
or it's mounted to the side of the house. We'll replace those conduits if we need to.
Right.
And then
it happens.
Oh yeah, like most of the time, especially in the older parts of town.
Right.
Some homeowners still have an electrical meter inside the house.
Yeah.
So at that point, if you want to upgrade or just even replace your old, your old service panel, then Hydro will have us move that meter outside. But before we proceed with the work again, they'll provide us with a set of guidelines of where they want the meter, and then with that, we provide a precise estimate on the work.
So when we're talking about like load calculations, I mean, you say that 100 amp service could charge your car, but you don't have a hot tub and a pool and like all of those things as well.
Yeah, that's a discussion we need to have as well. Your future wants or needs.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say you were home, 100 amp panel, you want an electric car, fine, you're good. We'll put in a 40 amp outlet or charger. You won't have any issues. But then you have to think, am I going to want a spa later on? Yeah. Okay, at that point, you might want to consider upgrading your electrical panel as well.
Yeah.
So it's all like...
Yeah. It's something you have to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, though, like future, where do you think the industry's headed? Like, are we all going to have solar panels on our roof? And you guys install? You don't do solar panels?
No, it's not. That's not. You've got specific companies in Ottawa that'll specialize with solar. I think we're gonna see a lot more electrical vehicles on the roads. Therefore, there is already starting to be a demand to replace just smaller electrical panels.
Right. You think it's going to be something we're doing for? I think the rules are getting stricter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's getting harder to pass the tests required to become an electrician.
I passed mine a while back, so I guess.
No, you're smiling because you want to say first pop. First pop, I passed.
But I wouldn't want to go back just with all the new rules and It's not an easy test, that's for sure.
No, and you guys are never retested.
No.
Like once you get your license, you have your license.
You have your license. You're set for life.
Yeah, that's why they call it a ticket, right?
Yeah. No, but we depending on where you work and which firm you're with, we do have continuous education, so we try to just give updates to the guys on like the best practices and all that. But no, essentially, yeah, once you have your license, you have to renew it with the colleges of trades every year.
Yeah.
But
other than that, tell me about like a mistake that you guys have made, a difficult situation that you guys have had. How have you dealt with it? And what was it like? I know. Like,
well, I'll tell you what, Ryan.
So
we don't make a lot of mistakes, but I'll tell you,
there's a roof that begs to differ.
Yeah. Was it with you?
No.
Okay, because that's where I'm going.
Oh, okay. So, let's hear about it.
A few years back, Alex, who's one of our...
Alex. Sorry, Alex.
Who's one of our electricians. He was an apprentice back then, but we were in an older bungalow putting in pot lights, and we have so the trusses on the roof were 2x6s, and we were trying to get across 2 trusses, and so we were just making small holes through the 2x6 to get across, and then with our longer bit, I ended up going through the roof. Right. And then I was like, hey, Alex, can you feel a bit? I feel like it's gone through. He's like, no, I don't see anything. So then I stepped outside, and it was just a bungalow. And then I could see the bit come out through.
It's funny. Like, it happens, right? Yeah. Like, we work in construction. This stuff happens.
Then, swallow my pride, and I let the homeowner know what we had done.
Yeah.
Very nice lady. She had made lunch for us that day. And we got a roofing contractor there
to fix it.
Fix the issue.
I know, like, I've been in the trades for a long time too, so we make a ton of mistakes, and ultimately clients are normally really great when you're honest with them and you say, hey, look, this is what we did. But tell us a story about a difficult homeowner that maybe wants you to go against code. I mean, you must have been through this stuff.
Oh, yeah. But at that point, we'll just say, no, we can't do it this way. Like, this is how we have to do it. And then we'll let the contractor know of the additional costs if there are any.
Right.
But it's a harder discussion to have with a homeowner than a contractor that's used to seeing this type of stuff. Right. So, we deal with both. We deal directly with the homeowners or contractors. But going through the process with a homeowner, sometimes it's that the homeowner will not understand why we have to do certain things a certain way, but we're binded by the electrical code. So
absolutely you are. And certainly we don't, like my firm, we don't break protocol very often, I must admit, for the building codes. But there's also this conversation that we're always having, balancing quality versus cost. Right. And you must have that conversation a lot with clients and contractors.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll dig into a little more where it's changed, like where the future of electricity. And can you think of things that need to be changed from a code perspective? Or the things like we talked about the heated floors, like you just said, you don't understand. Like, I don't understand why we're not doing it, but do you think that the more rules are coming and what they might be?
Oh, more rules are coming. They're constantly putting in more rules. It's good. Like, I mean, in Ontario, we're the most strict, governed,
taxed
free. But trade, like the electrical trade in Ontario, with the Electrical Safety Authority, we're the most
regulated.
Regulated. Probably throughout the
I would say
Canada,
North America.
North America, even the States.
Well, I think that there's one. I think California is quite strict.
I have no clue.
Yeah, but do you think that more rules are coming down the pipe when it comes to?
Yeah.
And what rules do you think? Like, can you if I gave you power of, ESA right now, what would you implement? What would you change? It's
because it's twofold. If I say remove one thing, then it's one thing that's causing us contractor grief. Example, so we need to put arc fault circuits now. Okay, so I
totally forgot about arc fault.
So an arc fault breaker is a breaker that won't only trip if it goes over current, but it's going to trip for various reasons. If there's a high current arc, an arc is a spark. So let's say you've got loose wire on an outlet, and then as soon as you put a load on it, it's going to create an arc. The breaker will sense that and trip right away. Okay, which is good because it protects.
It used to only be in bedrooms.
Yeah, exactly. Few, 10?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Like 8, 9, 10 years ago, only in bedrooms. Now it's throughout the house. So, except for your lighting circuits and a few exceptions like your fridge, countertop outlets, so on and so forth.
Right.
But the issue we're having is in a lot of renos and new builds that we do, in the garage, we have to put an outlet circuit, an arc fault circuit, and then the exterior plugs. But what do you do in the garage? You use power tools. So saws, lawnmowers for the exterior plug. A lawnmower just by default creates an arc when it starts. So a lot of new lawnmowers that the homeowners have, they can't even use just because it trips the breaker right away. So I'd say, like, as a contractor, I would like for those to just be regular breakers. I mean, we have an exception for the fridge.
What about Can you use a GFI instead of an arc fault?
No, GFI is ground fault circuit.
So you can't.
No, they're two different things.
I know they're two different things, but you can't.
Because the exterior outlets on an arc fault breaker, it's arc fault protected, but there's also a GFI at the end.
Oh, it's both.
It's both.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're outside. So
okay. You'd like to get that rule changed.
Is it going to change? No, but on the flip side,
we have pretty much a lot of pool around here. I'm sure half of ESA is watching this.
Yeah, hopefully not. So for us, it's a lot of service calls, right? For an issue that we can't really control because everything is wired properly. But then on the flip side, if we have that removed, then you're technically putting
people at risk.
Yeah, people at risk. So it's like it's catch-22, right? Mm-hmm. And on the lighting circuits, we don't have when we wire homes, we'll separate the outlets from the lights because the lighting circuits can be on a regular breaker.
Right, and they're cheaper.
And they're cheaper, but not only that, is because it leads to less issues. Yeah. You know, you're turning on a light, and then let's say there's a.
Oh, we've all seen light bulbs explode before. Little, whatever. Is that a spark that you're talking about that would trip it?
Yeah, that could potentially trip it, but
you're not a fan of arc fault by the sounds of it.
I am.
What would you add? What would you make more? What do you see, and you're like, man, this needs to change. It needs to be harder, more strict.
Oh. Just homeowners hiring weekend warriors to add pot lights.
Well, that doesn't need to change. I mean, like, okay, wait, that needs to change. It needs absolutely, but that's already code, right?
Yes, it's code, but the issue is because on the new builds that we do, sometimes we'll get service calls where we go into a house and we're there to fix a specific issue. You know, like, I can't plug in my toaster in this countertop outlet because it's too hard to plug in. Because the outlets now are tamper-proof, which is code now.
Yes.
So that kids don't put a fork in and then it blows up. So we'll be there to fix that issue, but what we're looking at the ceiling and there's 60 pot lights like that are just wired onto our existing lights.
Oh, that's yeah. So they've added it.
So now now someone's overloaded the circuit.
And it's your fault.
No, it's not our fault because we know exactly what went into the house. But they're so whoever did it's putting the homeowner at risk.
Right.
And we can't warranty the product anymore. Yeah. The product being the house because the whole electrical system is compromised.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So that and the issue is when we do work, we pull an electrical permit.
Yeah.
Whoever's doing that or they're one, we can't compete with those prices.
I can't. I say people right away, are you looking to hire someone that's going to pull a building permit or not if I'm doing a basement?
Yeah. And
if they say, no, I don't want a permit, I say, I don't even want to bid on the job.
Exactly.
Because I cannot compete with people who don't have to follow the rules.
Bingo.
It's not an option.
So, and that's, and in the discussions we've had with the Electrical Safety Authority, like, okay, you're telling me I'm missing an outlet here, like because I'm 3 inches off.
Right. Meanwhile,
yeah, they're
harder on us than they are. I don't get it either.
So that's one thing, but it's extremely hard to.
I think enforcement. I would love to see, and I have this thing, and you know what? I'm going to bring it up right now with you. Okay, I think that all people who, we want to have inspectors go around and look for renovations that are being done without a permit.
Sure.
And right now, it's tattletale is the only way that someone will find out. Like, there's no one enforcing driving around.
Yeah.
we
know because we go in and we'll make the report.
Right.
Like we will send the information out
to ESA.
Yeah.
But not the city.
No, but the city and
they don't talk. ESA, they should talk.
no, but yeah, it should. Sure, that's up to them.
Well, yeah, but ESA should be, hey, there's an electrical permit on this job. Is there a city permit on this job? Because yeah, for pot lights, maybe you don't need a city permit, but if you're going down to finish a basement, you need a permit for that, right? But we should consider tracking the bins. We should make the bin people, the dumpster people of the world, report to the city as to where bins are being delivered at residential addresses, and then just hire some guy to drive around and make sure there's permits for those corresponding addresses.
I think there's enough red tape everywhere, you know?
No, it's one of my pet peeves though, right? Like when people hire non-licensed people to do work, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, but especially when you've got the proper insurance and proper licenses.
Yeah,
because it
costs money.
Yeah,
and we can't compete.
You can't compete because that's it.
So thanks for coming, man. This has been awesome. Like to sit
down.
That's it.
We're done. I thought we were doing 3 hours.
No. We're doing 30 minutes. You know. So, but it's like a little primer of all the things. And you know what? If you want to see more of Max, spoiler alert to the audience out there, Max is going to be on an upcoming show of ours when we're renovating a old house out in Russell. It's coming this fall, so it's going to be exciting.
I got the job. Excellent.
You got the job. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Excellent. Thank you for having me. We'll do it again.